This is the former and 5-time World Madden champ, Jordan 13-8, and you're listening to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix.
It is Tuesday, December 21st, 2021. Christmas is this Saturday, I'm pretty sure. Days are hard, but yeah, we're so close. It's pitch black outside. We're doing an extra later podcast, 6 p.m. right now. Let's just get right into it. Hey there, Josh. Let's rock it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix with your lovely hostesses, Garlic Johnson.
We're gonna need to take a break here while I change my pants.
And Josh Mitchell.
Sitting here undefeated in everything I do. Except fantasy football. No, I'm not allowed to handle crayons.
Not after last time.
Not after last time.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Garlic and Josh.
Yes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. I'm one of your lovely hostesses, the Garlic Johnson. We are joined by your other lovely hostess, the Joshua Mitchell. Say hi to the folks, Josh.
You won't be joined by me much longer if you keep talking like that.
Why? What do you mean?
I know you're a big fan of Patrick Mahomes, and you guys do kind of look alike, but no need to talk like him, too.
Okay.
You can join our Discord if you'd like to chat with us about football or anything else 24/7. Link in the description below. You can leave us voicemails at anchor.fm/hoodpod, or you can email us hiddenoaksoverdose@gmail.com. You can check out our beautiful website, hiddenoaksoverdose.com, that Josh has made. It's his firstborn. Segment start times down in the description. Thank you at Levi Oki Illustration. You can find him on Instagram for all the beautiful art he puts out himself, and then you can thank him for all the beautiful art that he has made for the show as well. Josh, how we doing, pal?
Doing. I've got a later show, but then again, if we think about it, we're just going back to our roots because we used to just, broadcast at the 6 p.m. hour. I had to go back into the office, so thanks, Biden. But we are live now, so yeah, I have nothing to complain about. Gar, what about you? I see something in all caps.
Are you? Well, before we get there, Josh, and we will get there, I promise. Can you really blame Biden? You're a state employee, not a federal employee. Biden has no jurisdiction over you.
I'm a county employee.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a county employee, and Biden's out there saying, we got to be accountable and account. It's a lot of overlap in letters there, so it's just his fault.
Yeah, well, God damn it, Biden. What is he doing?
2024, take America back.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, Josh, in all caps, I wrote down, stop pooping. That's how I'm doing, Josh. That's how I'm feeling. I literally haven't eaten since like 7 this morning, and that was just a very small snack because I know this is what everyone wants to hear about at the top of a podcast, Josh, are my bowel movements, but literally anything that goes into my body comes out. I don't feel sick. Like I've obviously had like the flu with like diarrhea and stuff before like that. Like this is nothing like that. I feel perfectly fine. No little tummy ache, nothing. Just anything that goes in my body comes out rapidly, not even in a liquid form. It's more of like a semi-solid, but I just can't stop. I don't know what it is. Since last Friday, I flew home last Friday. Since last Friday, and today is Tuesday, so that's what, a 5-day span, I've probably pooped 25 times. And that's a lot.
That's it? Yeah, totally. Yeah, so do you remember how Brian and I had said, Mexico, you're going to die, no big deal.
Yep.
And then you were on this whole like kick. I went on like a 5-mile hike through the Mexican jungle to get tap water from a gas station that had one working light. Yeah.
I remember, yeah.
I think that you may have picked up a tapeworm.
Isn't that how all the cool people lose weight? This is my ticket, Josh. This is finally it.
Yep. No, that is true. But I think you picked up a Mexican tapeworm. And as Caramel Bear knows, it really is just, lights out, kick the bucket, and it's start writing your will up and give away everything you cherish. You've got maybe 65 years to live.
Oh, no. That's not nearly enough time for all the activities I had planned, Josh.
Yeah, well, it happens. But I am sorry to hear that. I will say that if you did actually drink tap water from Mexico that was off the resort, that's probably why. I don't think you're that stupid, but you never know. You could have brushed your teeth or something and swallowed toothpaste, and
No, I did. I drank out of a bottle from every second I was in Mexico, and like I said, it didn't really happen until the day I was flying home. And then, it's been happening pretty much ever since I got home. But anyways, we don't have to talk about my bowel movements any longer. We actually have a live listener now, and I know Bradley is going to be so mad at himself he didn't get to talk about my pooping behavior for the past 5 minutes. So, Brad, you'll have to go back and listen to the show once we post it on Anchor and Spotify and wherever else later tonight. You missed that, Brad, but don't worry. It'll be out there later. You can listen on demand 24/7. But we'll move on, Josh. We got to talk about some playoff matchups later on, and we want to give them all the love and attention that they deserve. So let's get right into the FanTASTY Zone. Who brings us the FanTASTY Zone, Josh?
Skybusters, the one and only, the leader of sports, busting through the sky. Some might say that he's going to be the first man to sponsor a football team on the moon. And I say, damn straight.
All right. Well, thank you, Skybusters, for bringing us this segment. Josh, are you eating anything? Because I'm definitely not. I'll get that out of the way. I'm not eating. There will be no Poopy Boy 2.0 tonight. What are you snacking on over there? Anything?
Nothing. I got rum and Coke. The huge. Don't have much of a snack since we are having a little bit of a later show. I didn't want to ruin my dinner. I think we're having leftovers. We had some beef stew yesterday. Not that that's what you want to hear.
Beef stew.
But yeah, we're having some lefties. So I'm not snacking on anything right now.
I think he just got the wind knocked back into him. Dude, Benchwarmer, such a classic movie. Sorry. Just since you said beef stew, that's all I've thought about. Okay.
Yeah, but so that's that. We got a live update from the game.
Oh, go ahead.
Kickoff.
Oh, wow. Exciting kickoff.
Opening kickoff. Yep.
All right. And I'm just drinking, I'm now drinking Minnesota tap water, but maybe that's been my demise this whole time. Straight from my bathroom.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you had already said that this started Friday when you got home, correct?
It started Friday the day I was leaving. So, I don't eat on days I fly because I don't know if you know this, Josh. Airplane bathrooms are very small, and I'm very large. So I do anything I can to not have to ever use them. So I did not eat anything Friday, but it started Friday morning.
Yeah, okay. So I was going to say that maybe this was just a result of watching the football game last night.
No, that certainly could have prolonged it. That certainly is probably not helping my medical condition. But anyways, Josh, Gridiron, speaking of the football games, the Gridiron Gossip discussion, I tried to get going this week, didn't get too many hits, but hey, we still heard from Brad, and Brad's here listening live, so shout out to Brad's dedication, the loyalty to the brand. I was talking about self-supremacy, and I couldn't really find a good succinct way to get across my point. The gist of it was, why does everyone get so up in arms when their team can blow out a team in the first half and then get blown out in the second half? Do they not understand that most of these teams are pretty equal? Each team gets the same hundreds of millions of dollars to pay their players. Their coaches are usually pretty equally well compensated. Why is it always that our team is so embarrassing if they get blown out in one or the other half versus the other? Does that make sense? So it's a lot of self-supremacy. Our team is superior to everyone else.
No, I responded too. So
right.
I did respond, and I think that that's a fair thing. A lot of people are like that but what did I say here? Just so I don't sound silly.
Too late.
I said winning's hard. Most disappointment is in situations such as the 28-3 in the recent Vikings game. But it's a knee-jerk reaction. I try to put myself in your guys' shoes. If my team was up, what was it, 29-3, 29 to rip or whatever?
Yep.
20. And then they just kind of pissed it away to where it came down to the last play of the game, essentially. I would be in the sense all right, took the foot off the gas. Just this team is not going to do anything, and it's going to be, they got lucky. And so, that knee-jerk reaction, I think, as you put it.
Gotcha. All right, yeah, so we talked about that a little bit. Brad got out there as well. It seems like the Reddit's just full of casual fans. There's not a lot of high football IQs. I've always compared it to like watching football with the neighborhood dads back when we were kids. Not a lot of high football IQs, just a lot of screaming about what the fuck's going on. So yeah, that's I should know better, but I just sit there and I doom scroll all the time. So I do it to myself. Anyways, Josh.
Hey, doom scrolling's the best. Don't knock it. I do it all the time.
Yeah, we know you do. Somehow it's been contagious and you've passed it on to me, and I can't stop, Josh. Just like I can't stop pooping, I can't stop doom scrolling. But anyway, so last week you had posted a massive poll, I think just before the show, and it's certainly gotten more votes since then. So do you want to re-go over your massive poll one more time?
I haven't seen my poll in a while. Oh, the one with the wild card. So if we were to have one wild card added to your fantasy league playoffs, how would you want it decided? Right now we have a commanding lead for most points for. And then we have one vote for wild card spots for silly and one vote for overall record. So, I mean, I'm in the camp of most points for, because I think that the tiebreaker for that would be overall record, because in some situations, not going to name any specific dynasty leagues in which we've had multiple to set up on Sleeper, and it may have the nickname Hidden Oaks Dynasty League attempt number 69.
Yep.
But there are some leagues I'm sure out there, maybe not that one, that has somebody who didn't make the playoffs but was in the top 3 in scoring. So it would be something interesting. Obviously, this is something that the entire league would need to agree on, or, if they have rules in place such as ours where dictator commissioners can make rule changes on their own without any votes.
Wait a second, I'm listening.
But I think that would be kind of an interesting way to decide it. So, like in our league for the Hidden Oaks redraft league, if we were to have a wild card spot, and I don't think it would work as well for Dynasty, at least. I'd see this as more of a redraft thing. For our league, if we were to have a wild card spot, right now we have 6 teams that make the playoff out of 14. Or we have 7, but 7th is essentially that wild card. And so the 7th place team in the playoffs would be the one with the most points for. So this year, obviously, we look at the points for. Don't pull it up, Gar. Just don't even look. Just trust me on this.
You got it.
It would be me.
That's so.
And then 6 or 7 people above my score would probably be the ones that make the playoffs.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so it just gives an opportunity. So for people who maybe get the most points against in a league, once again, shout out me, Victoria's Secret, record setter. Most points for, might have an opportunity to make the playoffs. A reason to keep playing through week 14 or whatever the regular season end date is.
Sure. All right. Yeah, that's interesting. I will note, since I did pull it up, just because I like to do the opposite of what you say. If we were to take the top 6 teams and the 7th team would have been the wild card, Bradley has the 7th most points for, and it would have been Bradley regardless. I guess what I'm saying. Bradley would have been the 7th seed either way, with the regular seeding that we have now, or with the most points for. Bradley would have the highest remaining points for of the bottom 8 seeds. So
yeah, and odds are that would happen majority of the time.
Right.
But it's your whole argument for the whole dumpster fire medallion going to the last play or the loser of the
toilet
playoffs.
Bowl. Yep.
The toilet bowl. That would be kind of the argument for this, is that teams like let's just say you get blown out like 250 to 175, so you have a solid week with 175, but then the guy you're playing just has just a godly week, and that happens 3 times during the year. Odds are you're going to lose those 3 games, and if you miss the playoffs because of that, you're going to be sitting there drinking pumpkin spice bleach for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because that's about October time when playoffs are being decided, and you're thinking, I got to win out to make the playoffs, and I'm sitting here with 200,000 points for.
All right, well, that's, you know what? I'm sure you're very passionate about this, but we will table that. I'm working on the survey right now, Josh. You can, Al in the chat, you can voice all your feedback in the survey that you have an option to voice feedback in every year, but, most people don't take seriously every year, but you'll have a chance to have a voice, and we'll see who Yeah, never mind. I was going to talk about the dumpster fire medallion, but we just got to keep the show going. But depending on who wins it this year, I may have just gotten really unlucky because Willie won it last year, and then if it's another person like Garrett or T who wins it this year, it's just not going to be the same as if someone in person won it. And so I think it would have been the same scenario if it would have been whoever in the was 14th last year if they didn't show up. I just think I'm getting dealt a bad card. But anyways, we're going to move on. Thank you, Skybusters, for bringing us the FanTASTY Zone. Josh, thank you for that tangent about wildcard teams. We can definitely discuss it in the offseason. Gar's Grinder very quickly here, the segment between segments. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Darrell Bevel. This man, he's been around the league a lot. Former coach of the Vikings. He was with the Seahawks, that is. He was with the Lions for a time. He gets the pleasure of stewarding the Jacksonville Jaguars to the number 1 overall pick for the second year in a row. They had no Urban Meyer this week, but all the same Jacksonville dysfunction that you would expect. So Darrell Bevel is going to be the grinder this week because I'm sure all the con owners are like, buddy, get us that number 1 overall pick. Let's not fuck around here. The Lions can go beat the Cardinals if they want. We want the best player available in next year's draft. So shout out to Darrell Bevel for being this week's and probably the rest of the season's grinder. Let's go ahead and talk about the podcast play along, Josh. We'll skip through this week pretty quickly just because it was a pretty uneventful week, but very briefly, what was your experience this week in the FanDuel?
Garbage.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think most of my players were in the afternoon game, and I didn't realize that. And so when I checked it, I think it was like right at the beginning of the afternoon games when I checked the score, I was like, oh, geez, I'm gonna have to switch thumbs to keep scrolling because my thumb's getting tired, and I haven't found my name yet. So I think I had only 2 guys going in the early games. I mean, I finished top 10.
Not bad.
Wasn't. I mean, overall, like you said, it was a very uneventful week. Lolo didn't put up 400 points, so it's a little disappointing.
Right. I will just quickly shout out Brianna, a.k.a. GoSports21. She got the top score with 116. Glenn and Hammer were in the top 3 as well. But literally, like I said, this did not improve anyone's top 5. I went through and looked at every single person in the standings. Contest 15 appeared nowhere, so it was a pretty uneventful week. The standings stay the same, with Larissa up top, Derek in second, and David in third. Josh, last week we didn't really have studs or duds because I couldn't get into the app, and you just didn't do it for whatever reason, laziness, I guess. But on Sunday, I did pick James Robinson, and he did pretty okay. 16.3 points, 2.6 times value. You're saying, what are you retroactively saying your studs were, Josh?
I'm going to go ahead and say Mark Andrews was going to be like my top pick. I think that he was going to have a good game against Green Bay.
Yeah.
Somebody like Rodgers in the quarterback slot, just guys like that. Honestly, the guy that I was kind of hesitant on was Craig Reynolds. Retroactively, that's probably who I would have picked. He did have a solid game. I don't know if he was 2.2 points worth his value, but when the top running backs are out and it's between him and a couple other backups, I'd have gotten him. I had him in my lineup last week, so.
All right, well, it looks like you took this week just as seriously, Josh. Who you got this week then for the folks? They got 3 contests left to try and take someone down in the top 3 or defend their position.
Well, he's been having a couple down weeks, but he's been getting the targets, and I'm going to go ahead and go with Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown in Baltimore, wide receiver, Brian. Last week against Green Bay, he had 14 targets, 10 receptions. Didn't do too much on it because, let's face it, top 1 defense in the league, am I right? Week before that, he had 8. And then week before that, he had 7. But then he had a string of games where he had over double-digit targets. So I think he's due for a big one. Going up against a putrid Cincinnati defense, division game, playoffs in the line. Lamar hopefully won't be back, so he'll have success because, honestly, Tyler Huntley played better than I've seen Lamar play. And, yeah, I'm going to stick by that.
All right. This week, I know we tend to do studs. This week, I'm going with a dud. Vikes are playing the Rams. I don't know what time the game is. I assume it's a nooner. It's at home, but I'm going with Justin Jefferson, wide receiver for Minnesota, Brian, just in case you're not familiar. Currently, the going rate for him is 8,400 in FanDuel. I'm calling Justin Jefferson a dud this week. That Rams defense, despite it not living up to Josh's dream team expectations, still pretty good. Aaron Donald's just going to feast on the Vikings interior line. Kirk will have no time. Jalen Ramsey, I'm sure, will be shadowing Justin Jefferson all day. I'm saying Justin Jefferson will be a dud this week, so do not have him in your lineup. He's definitely not worth that 8400 price tag. So I did it, Al. I did it. I'm just trying to be real. I'm trying to help the folks win money, okay? $140 is the top prize. That's some walking around money for sure. So that's my dud for the week. Josh, we'll move on here to your Joker of the week as you type in Hollywood Brown just for the record, but you've got a Josh's Joker. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give it to the NFL as a whole with their new COVID policy. Al and I had kind of talked about it just briefly in the Victoria's Secret League chat with the whole purpose is money. They're realizing that Omicron ain't going nowhere. People are going to test positive, miss games. And so they're just sitting here like, all right, well, hang on here. Money's important. Cash rules everything around me. Let's just find a way to make sure our big name guys can get on the field and we don't need to worry about anything. So asymptomatic guys, we're going to stop testing you. We'll randomly test one of you in the summer or something just to say we did. Symptomatic guys, you can test as many times as you want. When you get a negative, come on back. Overall, I mean, I think it's silly. Obviously, we're still dealing with a lot. Players who get sick, a lot of them are asymptomatic, yes. But all it takes is an asymptomatic player who's, out there shaking hands, sharing a water bottle. I don't know. Maybe he's one of those people who puts his mouth on the water fountain, and then someone else who does that comes up and drinks afterwards. Yeah, the Pawnee. And then, then this next guy who gets it from someone who's asymptomatic has symptoms, because I don't believe that strains of COVID, care if the first person had symptoms or not.
Correct.
And then this person gets sick. They start testing everyone in the facility, and then all of a sudden, boom, got 53 positives. But so I just think that it's stupid. It is just so they could try and make as much money as possible during this, and it's going to come back. Well, it most likely won't come back and bite them in the ass, because Roger Goodell is going to start paying for negative tests that are already done for guys.
Maybe.
But it's like I saw on Reddit, Antonio Brown could walk into the Buccaneers facility with a full deck of fake vaccination cards, and he's going to play because of all those injuries they got, and just the NFL is just not caring. They want the big name players to play.
Yeah, for sure. I have to agree. I know this is supposed to be a quick segment, but I'll just quickly add on that, yeah, I mean, the hey, we're getting too many positives, so let's test less. That's what a bold strategy from the NFL. And you can argue that, yeah, most of the NFL players themselves are going to be fine. But like you said, it just takes one asymptomatic player who's vaccinated and or thinks they're invincible, takes it home to grandma, RIP grandma, dude, and they didn't even know it. So it seems like a backwards policy, because these players are clearly not locking themselves down like they were last year, and a little more reckless abandon. I don't understand it, but yeah, the NFL is here to make money at the end of the day. So
yeah, it's stupid, and it's going to come down to like the Super Bowl. They're going to come out and go, okay, so just so everyone knows, we're going to test everybody beforehand, and then both teams are going to be all positive, and they'll be like, shit, let's play some bubble ball instead. But yeah, and then I don't know. The fact that this overtook Joe Buck's Thursday night commentary about Donald Parham being cold as he's shaking as he's getting carried out the field, that's pretty impressive, because Joe Buck, honestly, you're an okay broadcaster. You have your moments. Sure, you can't grow a full beard. Not many people can. It's not your fault. But I don't know. Yeah, two jokers. You guys get the Josh's Joker squared, because Joe Buck, just saying that guy's cold because he's shaking as he's getting carted out the field. Go Joe yourself. Did I do that right?
Yeah, you nailed it. All right, that's easily the longest Josh's Joker. We'll move on, only because I want to respect the playoff teams in case they happen to listen. We're moving into the Hidden Oaks highlights, Josh. It is officially playoff season. The games aren't over yet, but the three playoff matchups we have going this week, because we have 7 playoff teams, so only 1 bye team. The 3 playoff matchups are pretty much damn near decided. So we'll go ahead and talk about what happened this week and what's going to lead into next week. But Josh, I kind of listed them out. Obviously, we have Over the Hill Brad playing at Team Mitchell, the 2nd seed. I got to imagine your wife's disappointed in her performance after being the 2nd seed pretty much all year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she went into that game. I'm not sure what the projections were at the time, but she woke up to find out Jalen Waddle was going to be out. TJ Hawkinson was on IR, and so she was going to be struggling. So yeah, she lost a couple big name guys. DeAndre Hopkins was put on IR as well. She dropped him. So I think going into this week, she had a decent or a solid lineup, and then everybody got hurt or sick. So she ended up trotting out CJ Uzama and Alan Lazard and AJ Green in those spots. So, and then obviously Michael Pittman getting ejected after one catch isn't going to help the cause. So unfortunately, her season comes to an end. But I'm proud of her. 10-4 regular season record, second most points for. Good job, Nikita. Love you.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and we haven't really talked about it. I guess we briefly touched on it in the pod play along, but it was a down week across the NFL. I don't really watch Red Zone. I did not watch the most spiciest recent episode of Red Zone. I'm sure Al did, but I believe Scott Hansen was the first to report that it was the least amount of touchdowns, at least on Sunday, that had happened in an NFL week, I believe was the stat. I don't know how true it is, but just scoring was down everywhere. I'm sure anyone who plays fantasy will see how low and how weird the scores are. Brad suffered less from that, though. He had Tyreek Hill, who played on Thursday. He got 33 points. Aaron Rodgers got him 26 and a half. Keenan Allen in that same Thursday night game got Brad about a 20. So that's, Brad's beating Nikita pretty much right there, and so it would have been. Nikita was fighting an uphill battle after that Thursday night game, no matter what. Even after Herbert and Eckler did pretty okay for her, but yeah, all those injuries last minute, that was going to be brutal for her.
Yeah, I will say that by saying that the NFL was kind of on a down year. Tyler,
week.
Shout out down week. Shout out to Tyler Herman. I know he doesn't listen to the podcast, neither do I, but. Tyler Herman out here over in the Victoria's Secret League, which is a standard league, so keep that in mind. But he put up a solid 35.78 in the first round of the playoffs. I believe that is considered the league low for record or for the regular and postseason.
Yeah.
But because Jack has the league low for regular season, we're gonna have to separate these records just to keep Tyler and Jack on the record board.
As you should. Make sure to hold them both down. Oh, that's incredible. We'll talk about my matchup last, just so we're not selfish. The second matchup here, Josh, we have the, I guess, anything else to say about Brad and Nikita before we move on, I guess?
No, but Brad is going to have to try and find out. He's going to have to go down there and swab Tyreek Hill's nose himself, it sounds like.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but Tyreek Hill being put on the COVID list is not good for Brad next week. But yeah, we had the number 6 seed, Go Joe Burrow, playing the number 3 seed, Skybusters, and Skybusters looks like he's going to double Eric's score here before it's over tonight. He had Travis Kelce again, 41.4 points in that Thursday night game. I think the stat was that 83% of Patrick Mahomes' targets or yards or something went to Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill on that Thursday night game. So if you had either of those two players, you were feasting. Christian Kirk put up a surprising 24.4, and then Leonard Fournette, before he got hurt, got Brian, almost 14 points in this PPR league. So, pretty strong showing from Brian. Eric really never had a chance. What are you seeing here, Josh?
Yeah, no, Eric didn't really have a chance. Marquise Brown was his. Marquise Brown almost got outscored by the Dallas defense, and those were his 2 highest. Kirk Cousins down game despite 2 touchdowns. His team just did not hit double digits in anything really. I will say that Brian's going to be fighting an uphill battle next week, to no fault of his own, because Joe Mixon got hurt, Leonard Fournette got hurt, Travis Kelce's on the COVID protocol, Cole Beasley's going to be out because he's on COVID protocol, Tyler Lockett's hurt. He's going to be struggling he might even struggle to field the roster. Good luck, Big Bry.
All right. Well, sorry, Eric. I believe that this is only Eric's second year, his first year making the playoffs, and he gets bounced in the first round. Pretty, I don't want to say embarrassing fashion because there's a lot of low scores around, but of all the people who struggled this week, Brian was not one of them. So yeah, it's a rough look for Eric this week. Josh, I'll go ahead and let you kind of break down this last matchup just because it's my own, and spoiler, it looks like I'm gonna win. So I'll let you go ahead and talk about it.
You're definitely gonna win. I'm honestly shocked that you played half of your team. You probably could have gotten by with just Josh Allen, the Minnesota D, and Big Kick Mick, because Jesse's team is garbage. Oh, and Deebo Samuel, I guess you probably want to keep in there just as a safe keeping. But yeah, Jesse, the fact that he made the playoffs, I remember I was ripping him because he didn't deserve it. Oh no, that was Dynasty, but probably the same for this league too.
He went 9-5, Josh.
Yeah, true. But when he just can't talk his team up because the only person on his team that went double digits was DJ Moore. I mean, I guess DK Metcalf is still playing, but he's not going to do it. Yeah, Tom Brady had a down week, obviously. He's Cordell Patterson, who, according to Al, was going to be top 3 running back on the season. He finished at 8. So, sorry, Al, you're wrong. He had a down week. Gronk had a down week. Evans got hurt. He had the Green Bay defense, which, probably a solid play, but they don't like you, so they got you -1. And then, so Jesse's team just struggled. He was one of those ones that kind of like T in the Victoria's Secret League. Just everybody who got him here just decided, it's my bye week now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, just in case you didn't hear it, as Josh was kind of meandering through the lineup there, Jesse's team lived and died by the Bucs offense, which was a very good strategy up until this week, and minus probably that one other week they played the Saints. But yeah, Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and Mike Evans, I think combined, it looks like they didn't even hit 15 points. So any other week, Jesse, that would have been fine. That's why you went 9-5. That's why you were the number 4 seed. But Tom Brady got shut out, and so it just really shows in Jesse's fantasy.
Because he stinks!
I don't know, 7 Super Bowls. I don't know if you can ever legally say they stink, but it was certainly not a great showing for Jesse this week. But yeah, I win. I had the lowest score of any winning playoff team this week, but I'll take it. There's no moral victories here, just real ones. So I will be happy with how I performed getting the dub and moving into the semis. Josh, so if I'm winning, if Bradley's winning, if Brian's winning, and if Jeremy was on the bye, I believe I screwed this up last year somehow, so I'm not gonna verify this. I'm not gonna give it the guarantee, but I believe the matchups next week will be me, the Alan Parsons Project, playing the number 1 seed at Jonathan Taylor Thomas, aka Mr. Prib, and then I believe it'll be Brad over the hill playing at Skybusters, aka Brian. I believe those will be the 2 matchups, and we've kind of already talked about these teams, but it seems like both Bradley and Brian might struggle. So at least they're playing the other struggling team, right? What do you see between these 2 teams?
Yeah, no, I think that it'll be interesting. It's literally going to be a cripple fight. And so it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top, because obviously whoever does is going to get those guys back next week or the week after.
For the chip, yeah.
So that'll be kind of interesting way of looking at things. I'm trying to find out who would be playing who, but yeah, it doesn't say. Usually it says if there's reseeding or not, but nope, doesn't say anything.
Right. I don't think there is. I think the bracket just stays static, but I don't know. I got screwed it up last year, like I said, so I'm not going to rubber stamp nothing this year.
Yeah, and then obviously you're going up against Jeremy and Cole Beasley having COVID. He was seen making out with Josh Allen, so you're probably going to be down your best option for quarterback. Yeah, so I mean, honestly, if Jonathan Taylor gets contained, I mean, even though Jeremy's team is kind of, never mind, Jeremy's team is pretty good.
I've got no shot.
I mean, you have a shot, but it would have to be the Josh Allen, Dawson Knox connection that kind of carries you.
Sure.
And so that's kind of where I'm sitting at. But yeah.
So, I mean, go ahead.
We have a cripple fight, and then we have a guy who's going to cripple another guy, essentially. So it'll be fun. Obviously, we all know that I should be in this matchup, but
obviously.
But we've got to move on to get some Hunger Games bit so we can listen about the Boogeyman and do some Fave Favres.
Right. So I mean, go ahead, Josh. You gotta. So Jeremy's playing me, and you're already predicting I'm gonna get crippled. So you're taking Jeremy in the hypothetical me versus Jeremy.
No, I got to go with my co-host just to make sure that your feelings are up there. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Gar to lose this week, and then I'm going to say Brian loses too. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go Gar and Brian are my winners.
So it's so realistically, it's going to be a Prib Brian ship, huh? The two oldest members of the league. All that wisdom.
Yeah. Do you think maybe we can convince them that they dreamt it all because they're so old they don't remember?
I will have you know, I have Antonio Brown sitting on my bench, so if Antonio Brown can put up 60 because the Bucs have literally no other wide receivers, maybe that'll do something for me. I picked him up knowing this could be a scenario, and I'm happy. So watch out. Antonio Brown could be a week winner for me. We'll see. But, yeah, realistically, I'm going to lose. And then if I'm looking at between Brian and Bradley, I just have to go with Brian based on how he's performed the rest of the year. But, yeah, losing Travis Kelce and Leonard Fournette is not helping his cause. So I'll still
Cole
pick
Beasley.
Brian. Yeah, Cole Beasley was the heart of his team, but the heart of Bradley's team was Tyreek Hill. So, I mean, what do you...
And Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I mean, Keenan Allen's
Actually,
fine, right?
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say Brad's going to beat Brian. I changed my mind. It's going to be a Brad ship and winner take life.
Oh, man. It'll not be a Brad ship. It's going to be a Brian ship. But Brad and I can fight for the leftovers once it's all over. We'll fight for third. But, yeah, thank you for listening to the Hidden Oaks highlights. The playoff times are exciting. We'll talk about the consolation bracket just briefly next week because someone will be playing for that dumpster fire medallion and someone will be playing for ping pong balls and cash and this and that. So we'll touch on those briefly next week as well. And, Josh, should we do the Hunger Games bit? Should we go ahead and call them dead even though they're not technically dead yet?
No, we don't want to jinx it, like you said here. So no Hunger Games bit this week. Plus,
Okay.
We've been doing a little bit more ranting and rambling. So let's get on to the medical minute. Do we have a medical minute? Are we going to learn about the boogeyman? Is the boogeyman a real thing?
Well, Josh, it's a really good question. So for the past couple of weeks, I've just been playing around with the subject line there in the Hidden Oaks Medical Minute, just for the little extra content, a little extra humor, since we're not smart enough to talk about football ourselves. What do you think we're going to listen? There is a Medical Minute this week. I put down just the boogeyman. What do you think we're going to learn about this week, Josh?
I'm going to go ahead and say the rhinovirus, which is also known as a common cold. The boogeyman, a.k.a. men that have boogies, a.k.a. boogers. So, yeah.
How do you get a tissue to dance, Josh?
Probably put on a little slow jazz, like some slow jazz, and then offer it some wine, and then, maybe dress seductively.
Come on, Josh. Everyone knows the way to get a tissue to dance is to put a little boogie in it. I mean, please.
Sure.
All right. No, we're gonna be learning about parasomnias, which is going off last week. It's I don't know. I'll just let Jamie talk about it because I shouldn't talk about it anymore. But yeah, this topic this week for the Medical Minute is parasomnias.
Hey guys, Dr. Jamie Hammer here with this week's Medical Minute. I'm here to talk about parasomnias, which are the disorders that happen during sleep, and it seemed like I sort of piqued a few people's interest with last week's topic, so here I go. Josh asked a phenomenal question about what is the difference between nightmares and night terrors, and the answer is really simple. Night terrors are these extremely vivid experiences that people have while sleeping, where they sit up in bed, scream, flail, sweat, and they can last up to 30 minutes, and mostly often in childhood. The kid will just sit up in bed and start screaming bloody murder. The interesting thing about night terrors are they're completely benign. The kid will actually wake up in the morning, have no recollection that this happened, and the big thing to treat this is just to buy the parent some headphones and tell them that it's completely normal, is not impacting their development or their kid's ability to rest. This is different than nightmares. Nightmares are like bad dreams on steroids. A bad dream just has sort of sad content, but you are able to completely function and move on with your life. Nightmares are very intense. They are something that you remember throughout the day. It impacts sort of your day-to-day happiness. They increase your heart rate, increase your muscle tone, and they have really distressing content like failure or stressful events or the loss of a loved one or trauma. Nightmares can really negatively impact how a person functions in their day-to-day life. How do we treat nightmares? The big thing is going back to the basics with sleep hygiene. A few extra tips I'll give that I didn't share last week is to empty your bladder before going to bed. Make sure you're getting in your workout at least 4 hours before going to sleep so that you're not dealing with those hormones or endorphins as you're trying to rest. Avoiding alcohol, caffeine, and nicotine, which can all promote the intensity of dreams. And then reviewing your medications and your mental health and making sure that your overall well-being is taken care of before trying to address that. The other thing that I learned about was called imagery rehearsal therapy. So this is where you take the content of your nightmares, write it down, and sort of journal about it and modify the ending so that it's more pleasing to you. So taking your nightmare, flipping it around, overcoming the obstacle that's presented. And this really helps you rewrite the ending of your dream and hopefully breaks the cycle of the nightmares. One more topic I want to briefly touch on while I'm talking about rewriting the ending of your dreams is sleep paralysis versus lucid dreaming, which is something that Garlic brought up last week. Sleep paralysis and lucid dreaming are both an awareness of your body going from that non-REM sleep cycle into that REM sleep cycle. In sleep paralysis, you have the awareness that you're entering that REM sleep cycle, but you don't understand that you're dreaming, so you wake up feeling like you're completely paralyzed. These are often associated with dreams that there's an evil spirit or an evil presence in the room and a lot of feelingness of heaviness on the chest. There's a lot of folklore surrounding these, and the only way to treat them is to be aware that they're happening. This is very similar to lucid dreaming, where you're aware of transitioning into that REM phase of sleep, but it's not associated with such distressing content. They're usually pleasant experiences of being aware that you're dreaming and aware that you're flying through the air, and you can also sometimes control the content of these. Overall, both sleep paralysis and lucid dreaming do lead to less restful sleep, so I don't suggest trying them. However, it is sort of fun to explore. I've had about 4 episodes of lucid dreams in the past, and they were a blast, but really you get so tired from trying to think all night and then continue on with your day in the daytime, so proceed with caution. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about sleep difficulties. Hit me up if you have any questions in the Discord. This has been Dr. Hammer.
Thanks, Dr. Hammer. Josh, to bring it full circle, I'm sure watching a lot of football games every week is a nightmare for a lot of fans. No, but...
yeah, Minnesota, suck it.
Just trying to stay on brand with the football fix. No, but obviously you had asked about night terrors and nightmares specifically. So, I mean, you want to talk about what you learned here or how this applied to you? Are you a night terrors or a nightmare kind of guy, or what piqued your interest to ask about it?
Yeah, so I've had, like I said, I mentioned last week, I've had night terrors in the past. I still have them every so often. Usually when I'm experiencing a high level of stress or my body is just overtired, I notice I'll get them. And it's kind of like how she said, but I'm somewhat aware that they're going on. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I have had lucid dreaming. I've had sleep paralysis maybe once or twice, but lucid dreaming is something that I've actually had. I don't even know how I get into it, but I do it. I have lucid dreams almost once a week, once a month, somewhere in there. So it's something that I've experienced just because, I kind of zoned out, but that's where she said you're able to kind of control your dreams. You're aware that you're sleeping, so you kind of run rampant and have fun.
Yeah, that's what lucid dreaming is, correct.
Yeah, so I've won the Super Bowl like once every 2 weeks, essentially, because I lucid dream pretty frequently, I guess.
Maybe that's why you're so cranky all the time, Josh. Quit thinking when you're sleeping and just fucking sleep like the rest of us, huh, pal?
Yeah, but you won't like me when I'm well rested.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I obviously dream every so often. I honestly can't think of the last time I had a nightmare, not trying to sound cool or like a humble brag or nothing. I just genuinely can't remember. My sleep is usually pretty peaceful and I feel pretty well rested most of the time. Most recently, I've noticed I just wake up a couple times in the middle of the night, but I just go right back to sleep. So, yeah, I don't know. Not much of a dreamer, not much of a night terrors kind of guy. I don't know if I just have less stress or if I'm less spiritual, and so I don't have these some of these spiritual things Jamie was talking about as well. But, yeah, I don't know. I can't really add much to the discussion, so that's why I was curious what you were thinking and what you were feeling about all that. So,
oh, I get it now. Boogeyman, because it's like a night thing. Nighttime scary. Got it.
Way to bring it all full circle, Josh. But thank you, Dr. Jamie Hammer. If you guys want to continue the parasomnia discussion in the Discord or ask Dr. Jamie Hammer about anything else, she's obviously active these days, and she'll either talk about it on the show or she'll hit you with a message back in the Discord. So, Josh, do you want to go ahead and should we move into our last segment, our dead segment? Dead, RIP and peace, dead?
Yeah, we've got 2 visitors to the cemetery today. That's Bradley and Brian. So we'll be listening to their Fave Favre single-player video games. I have an idea as to what Brian's 4 are going to be, but we'll find out.
All right, rock on, man. Well, like you said, we got Bradley and Brian calling in this week. We're going to give Brian the walk-off shot just because of his tenure here. So to kick us off, let's hear Brad's Fave Favre single-player video games.
This is Brad with my Fave Favre single-player video games. Coming in at number 5, going with Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. Pokemon might be cheating because you can trade with people that also have the game, but for the most part, most Pokemon games are single-player playthroughs. Coming in at number 3, the Batman Arkham series. Again, all of the campaigns on those games are single-player games, and anybody that knows, I'm a big fan of Batman. Really liked how those games got better with each one. Coming in at number 2, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Again, another Pokemon game. Growing up, I played Pokemon for years and years. One of my favorites. And my number 1 single-player game of all time, the COD 4 campaign. I'm out.
All right, COD 4 campaign was pretty good. I know I was trying to go for just games that are only single player, but I didn't even respect that in my own list. So I like what Bradley came up with there, and always our topics are vague and open to interpretation on purpose. A lot of Pokemon in Brad's list. Josh, were you any surprises from Brad out of you there?
No. Not at all.
Great analysis, great follow-up thoughts from Josh. Thank you. Brad loves his Batman, he loves his Pokemon, and he loves his COD. So, Brad, thank you for contributing this week with your Fave Favre. Let's go ahead and hear what your daddy had to say. Let's hear Brian's Fave Favre single-player video games. This should be interesting.
Hi, this is Brian with my Fave Favre for the week single-player video games, where I need to take a little poetic license on this. Because when I was a kid, yes, we had outside, blah, blah, blah. But basically, our single-player video games took place at the arcade. So these are actually going to be a little bit more arcadia. Number 5, Frogger. Number 3 is actually a pinball machine, 8-Ball Deluxe. Number 2, Ms. Pac-Man. And my number 1 favorite single-player video game of all time is Space Invaders. There you have my list. See ya.
Wow, a pretty sincere list out of Brian. I'd say 3 out of 4 of those are video games for sure. Frogger, Miss Pac-Man, and Space Invaders. A pinball, obviously it has a little bit of a video component, but that's mostly physical. What do you think about Brian's list there, Josh?
Yeah, no, I think that's just the list we need to revive this segment.
Are we back? Are we alive? Do we need to get another voicemail from Al talking how we've been resurrected?
I think we've got one of those flat lines to beep 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 beep.
Just like in the movies when all hope
building.
is lost.
Yep, we're steadily building. Moving on up
to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Moving. Okay, sorry. I just used to watch that show all the time with my dad, so I'm very familiar with the song. Okay, thank you so much, Bradley and Brian, the Canup father and son duo, for calling in and reviving the Fave Favre from its death. Josh, you and I also put together our own single-player video game Fave Favre list. Would you like the walk-off shot this week or not? How are you feeling about your list?
well, that's okay. You can have the walk-off.
All right, well, let's hear your honorable mentions. Then number 5, Josh, let's get into her.
Yeah, so my honorable mentions, we're going to have Red Dead Redemption, the GTA 4 and 5. I didn't play anything much before that. San Andreas, I guess, at Nate's. Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order, Forza 5, which is a game I just beat, the Subnautica games, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, get busy, and then some like the Assassin's Creed games, for the most part, the series of that I've enjoyed thoroughly as well. And those are just a few. There's many, many more out there. I love playing single-player video games because I don't have friends. So that's kind of, I just kind of limited myself to these. Gar, what do you have?
Oof. All right. So wait.
My number 5.
Right. I was going to say, I think I only heard honorable mentions there, Josh.
Yeah, my number 5 is a game that I just finished. Put in many, many hours because I had many, many hours to give because Asher just slept a lot. So I'm going to put Cyberpunk on there. After its rocky start, the patches that came out for it made it so it's a little bit more playable. So that's going to be my number 5.
Rock on. All right, I got some honorable mentions here myself. Crash Bandicoot series. I was rocking that on the PlayStation and the OG Xbox. Just some fun games. Never really got too deep into them, but I spent a lot of time playing them as a kid, so I felt like I had to mention them. I think Peggle can technically be a multiplayer game. I only ever played it single player, though, so Peggle, love that game. Destroy All Humans, great game on the OG Xbox that they've recently remastered. Skyrim, honorable mention. I know everyone else on the planet loved it. I enjoyed playing it for sure, just not in my personal Fave Favre. Assassin's Creed Black Flag had a great campaign. Loved the shit out of that game, even though there was a multiplayer component as well. And The Sims. I don't know. I don't remember, honestly, Josh, if you mentioned The Sims. I know you mentioned Roller Coaster Tycoon, though, which is a different simulator type game. So I just enjoyed the Sims games. I played The Sims Herbs on my Xbox, had a couple Sims games for the computer as well. So I spent plenty of times playing those as a young lad, while he was also messaging his friends on AOL Instant Messenger, aka AIM. But my number 5, Josh, favorite single-player video game, and this one might be a little controversial because its origins are certainly not video game, but I honestly don't think I've ever played this game in a physical way. I can almost guarantee that I've only ever played this game as a video game. My number 5 single-player video game is going to be Solitaire. Rock that shit on Windows all the time. Rock that shit on my phone. I got a Solitaire app. I was playing it on both plane rides to and from Mexico. I just love Solitaire. It's very simple. And yeah, I've only ever played it as a video game, so that's my number 5. Love Solitaire.
Could you repeat one more time what you love?
Solitaire!
All right, coming in at my number 3, it's a game that you mentioned in your honorable mentions. It is Skyrim. Put in many hours. Probably helped that I got that game, and then I got that game when I lived in Duluth, and the second time, not the first time. And literally that summer was the summer that the entire city decided to just shit itself and it flooded. So I couldn't go anywhere, couldn't work. So I just played Skyrim for many hours straight. And I think I put in over a total of like 1,500 hours in that game.
Jesus.
Keep track for you. Yeah. And that was just the first run through. I did run through it again, even a couple years back when it was remastered for the Xbox One. But yeah, so Skyrim's my number 3. I enjoy it, just the open world aspect. I'm a big fan of like the fantasy, sci-fi type things too, so enjoyed that a lot.
Rock on, man. I love that number 3. Skyrim, good game. I have nothing against it. Just wasn't good enough to make my list. And I certainly didn't put 1,500 hours into it, so my experience may have been different. My number 3 Fave Favre single-player video game is going to be Super Mario Sunshine, Josh. Absolute GameCube classic. When I was a kid, my dad had the Xbox at his house. My mom had the GameCube and the Nintendo 64 at her house. So depending on which divorced parent I was hanging out with, depended on which genre of video game I was playing. But I slapped so many hours into Super Mario Sunshine, being a bored kid with no friends anywhere near any of my mom's apartments, that I just sat there and stared at the TV all day long. So Super Mario Sunshine, game I love. There was a cool dynamic with like basically the jetpack water pack on your back. There's the Metal Mario or the gooey Mario you were fighting. It was pretty dope. I loved it. It was a great sequel to Super Mario 64. So that's my number 3 is Super Mario Sunshine.
I will say that one should have made my honorable mentions. I'd completely spaced that game off because it has been many, many years.
Yep.
Which happens with these lists. But yes, that game slapped.
All right, Josh, you're number 2.
My number 2. A game that you're probably wondering if it's going to be on my list, if I remembered about it. But I did, despite all the pushbacks and all of the delays and all of the hype that's come. But
here we go.
But do you have a guess? Are the initials the same as the city you live in?
Who's to say?
Dying Light. It's a zombie slayer game. Yes, technically there is a multiplayer aspect, but who none of my friends like to play that game. I think I played multiplayer once on it with Nate. Because Nate was the only other person, but it's literally just, your zombie slayer aspect, and it's got some crafting, some parkour, a little bit more open world. They're still going strong with some of the expansions, the DLC for the first game, and the new game's coming out here in February, I believe. So yeah, Dying Light, my number 2.
It always looked like a good game. I never picked it up myself, but it certainly looked fun. My number 2, Josh, this is a Rockstar classic. No, it's not one of those fancy schmancy Grand Theft Autos all you kids are playing. I ain't riding no horseback neither. I'm talking about Rockstar classic L.A. Noire. Absolutely love this game. It's you're in post-World War II America. I believe you're in San Francisco. Definitely on the West Coast somewhere, if maybe not in San Fran, but it's late 40s, early 50s. You're playing some beat cop that works his way up to become a detective over time. Just a really, really fun game. You investigate people, you investigate crimes. That's for those not familiar. It's that little emote in our chat, the one with the doubt. That's the main detective in the game, because you can, as people are trying to weave you their story, you can doubt their story, and you press X to doubt. And so it's become a meme over time. But it's from that LA Noire game, and the LA Noire game is great. So I believe they did remaster it not too long ago. If you're expecting a GTA game, don't. It's not like that. You can drive around, but it's just not the same, jive. You're not going around shooting hookers 24/7 and robbing banks. But yeah, LA Noire, great single player game. If you haven't played it, I would highly recommend it.
Moving on to my number 1. It's a franchise game. I only played one, but when I played it through, it was just amazing. It's honestly on a lot of people's Fave Favre's number 1. It's Witcher 3. Yeah, it's got that sci-fi aspect, and yeah, it's got its moments. The reason it's on my Fave Favre number 1 is because I bought it when it was on sale on Black Friday one year for like $24.99. Played it one day, sold it to GameStop because I just could not stand how small the text was, because I didn't think that I would need to actually learn how to read to play it. And I sold it for $29.99, so I made $5 on it. So yeah, made a profit. But no, in the end, I did end up getting it digitally when it was on sale for like $7, and it included all the expansions. It is an amazing game. So they fixed all the things that I had issues with. The backstory is amazing. There's a Netflix series on it that's amazing. I just hope it doesn't go down the Game of Thrones path and absolutely ruin everything fantasy and sci-fi for me.
We'll find out, Josh. I know you've been a big Witcher guy as of late, so not a surprise there. My number 1, Josh, I won't go on a lot about it because I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this game in other video games lists we've done in the Fave 5 and now the Fave Favre. But Fable 2, absolutely slapped. That's, of all the open world-ish type games, Super Mario Sunshine, Skyrim, whatever, I spent the most time 100%ing Fable 2, getting every little achievement you can, 100%ing it in every way. Fable 2, just a great RPG type game. I don't know why I loved it so much. Maybe it's just it hit me at a good time in life where I had a lot of free time, but I absolutely love the Fable 2, and that's pretty much all I have to say about it. If you haven't played the Fable series, I'd recommend hopping in at Fable 2. But that's pretty much all we got, Josh. What's the topic for next week, pal? Do you have it in front of you? Otherwise, I got it.
No, I don't.
Okay. The topic for next week, Josh, the Fave Favre Not Dead edition. Next week's Fave Favre is satisfying sounds. I believe we did another sound or smell one earlier this year. So the Fave Favre for next week is satisfying sounds. When it hits your eardrum next to your cerebellum, and it's just satisfying. Brad knows what I'm talking about. So that's the topic for next week. And yeah, there's still a raffle going on, which does not seem to be incentivizing people at this point. But that's it. We'll hop into our outro here, Josh, and we've got about a minute and a half to talk about stuff. You excited for Christmas, pal? Christmas on Saturday. Have you been good this year? You going to be on the nice list?
Yeah, well, let's just say I'm so good that I had to sneak into Santa's house to change the list to put me on the nice list, because that's how good I am.
Just had to make sure. You had to check the list twice yourself, you're saying.
Yeah, no, I put myself on there quite a few times.
What about the gifts you're giving, Josh? Are you proud of the gifts you're giving? They say it's all more about giving and receiving in this season. So are you proud of what you're giving out this year?
Yeah, I'm gonna give my presents to a few families. I'll be around some gatherings. I'll give some wise words of pass the meatloaf and all that jazz.
Sure. Yeah, you passed that meatloaf, Bunker and/or Mitchell family. But yeah, I'm excited for Christmas too. It should be a good one. Join our Discord if you want to engage the show. Chat with us. Anchor.fm/hoodpods, where you can leave us voicemails. HiddenOaksOverdose@gmail.com is where you can leave us emails. And you can always check out Josh's firstborn baby, HiddenOaksOverdose.com, for info on our League of Record. We're about to crown a new champion here in just 2 weeks. So, Josh, you want to say go Packers before I play the song here?
Go NFC North champion Packers. Did you hear that? I added some to it.
Hilarious, Josh.
Bye.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. And a Happy New Year.